Deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Warncke, the hostess with the mostest, the host that boasts the most roast. Here again with another podcast for you. Your lovely host here is associate publisher here at Texas Fish and Game Magazine, also contributing editor at Texas Fish and Game Magazine, and as well as a couple of other things that I do in the outdoor industry. TV show host, YouTube channel creator, outdoor writer, videographer, speaker, blogger, podcaster, a few things like that. But anyway, enough about me. Love having you guys on board. I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to download this show or stream it online, however you are listening. Thank you so much for doing so. Thank you for telling a friend. Thank you as well for leaving us a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever you found this show. Thank you so much for doing that as well. And thanks as well for hitting that subscribe button and smashing that notification button on YouTube if you listen on YouTube, or hitting the subscribe button on your favorite podcast player, however you're listening to this show. It's awesome. And today we have some good sponsors. We got a little bit of a longer show. I'm back with Jeff Stewart. I threatened to get him back on the show a couple of shows ago, and he's back. And I'm excited about having him because, man, we talk about all kinds of fun stuff, really engaging topics in the outdoors this week. And our show goes over an hour and a half, but man, I know podcasts are on demand and you can listen to them and come back to them and everything like that. I really recommend you listen to all of this. We talk about hunt shaming, we talk about youth hunting, we talk about trophy deer attraction, scent control, all those different things that are important. And it would not be a good show without some good sponsors. And so today we have two, once again, good sponsors to talk to you about. We have Wilson Wildlife Gear. In particular, it's at wilson-wildlife.com. That's wilson-wildlife.com. These guys are your source for all seasons feeders. They're your source for trophy Texas hunter products, feeders, and all kinds of other protein feeders, all kinds of things like that. The RotoGuz water collection system, so you don't have to haul water out to your place. That collects water for you and puts it in this nice little large container that the deer come and drink out of, or hogs, or whatever wildlife you have. They can jump on top of it. It's roto-molded. It's really cool. Double down deer feed, bait corn, just all kinds of stuff. Their website's just full of awesome things. Tree feeders, you've got stand and fill feeders, you've got a wide variety of different chairs, and scopes, Athlon scopes. You have these awesome Spartan Go cams, the Spartan 4G network cams that you can use to send pictures to your phone from your game camera. Really cool stuff as well, and really great website they've got going on. Also, Facebook page, you can find them real easy. Just type in Wilson Wildlife or Wilson Wildlife Gear into Facebook, or wilson-wildlife.com. That's wilson-wildlife.com. These guys have you figured out. They have everything that you need for your hunting adventures. I'm really a big fan of Dr. Mike Wilson, emergency room doctor, as well as a deer breeder, and just an incredible guy. I mean, just a really well-rounded individual. I love talking to him on this podcast. We had him on a few shows ago, and had a great conversation. Look forward to having him back again. So thank you, Wilson Wildlife. Thank you, Dr. Wilson, for being a sponsor of our podcast. Also, another one that we did a full show based around last time was European mounts, and that was Skull Hooker. That's SKULLHOOKER, Skull Hooker. Get your head on right. The world's first professionally finished and fully adjustable European skull mounting brackets. What's really neat about Skull Hooker is that you don't have to drill holes or do anything crazy with your mount, unless you're doing a bone bracket or anything like that, where you needed to drill it to the Skull Hooker bracket. But with the regular European mount, all you've got to do is just hang it on one of these nice Skull Hooker mounts, and the arm bracket is fully adjustable to accommodate different species of horns or antlers, as well as change the overall look and angle of your horns. Large horns and antlers are small. Lay your trophies rack back or put it forward. You decide with Skull Hooker. Really cool stuff that you can do with your mount. And the best way you can really check these out is to go Google Skull Hooker, or simply go on Facebook, check out their Facebook page at Skullhooker on Facebook. But certainly check out skullhooker.com, because they have a bunch of really cool outdoor products for after the hunt. So displaying your trophy whitetail, your bull elk, your African game, your exotic animals. Like, we have so many exotics that we hunt year round here in Texas. So many awesome ways that you can display your European mounts, your skull mounts, or your skull caps with the bone bracket, and XL or big or small versions of all those kind of things there. So skullhooker.com, that's skullhooker.com, or at Skullhooker on Facebook. All right. Moving right along, I've got some more information for you. Your buddy Dustin has been busy since the last podcast, and we did the last couple of shows back to back. The last show I did on preserving your hunting memories, gar for fishing or bow fishing, and then you've got whitetail and hogs and those kind of things that you can do with European mounts and bulling them out, or shoulder mounts or whatever. In the last show, we talked about preserving your trophies on a working man's budget. And I don't think that everybody should have a taxidermy, a mortgage on their house for their taxidermy payment, which is why I endorse Skullhooker and brands like that really make a lot of sense. But basically what I wanted to talk about in this episode was hunting again, because we're just starting hunting season. When this episode airs live, or goes live, we'll be into the first few days of hunting season. Hopefully everybody had a good first weekend out. I'm going to be, this weekend that I'm recording this, I'm going to be hanging out with my buddy Danny Berry over at DB Wild Game Processing and Taxidermy in Central Texas, Bertram area, the gateway to the hill country on Highway 29, in Bertram, Texas, going towards Burnett and Llano. And really a cool way to celebrate hunting season is just to be around the culture and see what deer people bring in. And it's not so much about just the hunting, and hunting is so important to me. It still is. Fishing is too, but I love getting out on the stand. I love getting out in the woods more than just about anything. But hanging out in the culture and just enjoying the lifestyle of the outdoors is really what I'm about as well. As what I'm trying to teach my son Jackson as well. And he's starting to get it finally at 10 years old. So, he's starting to finally get that's something his dad enjoys doing, as well as the hunting and fishing, is being around people that hunt and fish, and being around the culture and the lifestyle and everything that encompasses what we do in the outdoors. So that's always important. So basically, that's what I'm going to be doing for opening weekend. And then I'm trying to get Jackson his first deer this year. We have been at the range the last few weeks after school, nailing out that AR-15 and 223, and we are a high standard build kit, and with the Palmetto State lower, really cool AR-15 that I had built for Jackson, and really excited about having him out for his first white-tailed doe or spike, whatever we can get him on this year, out in Mason, the ranch that I hunt out there, family-owned ranch that I hunt out there. Also, I've got hogs and exotics and stuff I'm going to take him year-round to go shoot, but I'm really trying to get him his first whitetail. But that all being said, that's what I've been up to lately, and also been up to a new network that I discovered a few weeks ago called the Pride Outdoor Network. You can find this on they're on YouTube too, but you can find Pride Outdoor Network on Roku on your TV set. So Roku TV, you can find it on Amazon Fire TV. I know a lot of you guys are streaming hunting shows and stuff like that lately on Roku and Amazon Fire, or on Google Chromecast, which is not as popular as Amazon Fire or as Roku, but still a streaming service all the same. And so those three platforms will air the Pride Outdoor Network. And it's also available at the Amazon App Store as well. And the cool thing about what this is it's a streaming on-demand, 100% free network that you can stream hunting shows, whatever you want to watch, hunting, fishing, outdoor, camping, all that stuff that encompasses the outdoor reality. And a gentleman by the name of Tyler Feaster started this company. And I'm going to have him on the podcast pretty soon. He has some scents and cover scents and attractant scents and attractant products for deer that I want to get him on the show to talk about, and just love being a part of his network. Our first show is going to air by the time that you receive this podcast recording. It is free to download. It's the Mac and Prowler. It's MACAND PROWLER Hunting Adventures is where you're going to find my videos. Mac and Prowler predator hunting is what they do, and deer hunting and wild hog hunting is what I do. I've kind of got all of my old videos from when I started filming hunts back 7 years ago. I've got some of my older videos and then some of my newer, more current videos on the channel there, and they should all be live by the time this podcast goes live. So check out the Mac and Prowler channel on the Pride Outdoor Network, prideoutdoornetwork.com, if you want more information on where you can find that and the links to get a hold of that. And I'll put the links in the show notes as well to where you can check all that out on the Roku channel store and all that other fun stuff. But if you just search Pride Outdoor Network, you'll find it. Or just outdoor hunting, fishing, whatever you want to on Roku, you'll be able to find Pride. It's got the American flag and the logo. It's really cool. So there's that. All right, other thing, before I talk too much here. We're doing, I told you guys about this awesome SD card reader that I have. I'm holding it in my hands right now. You can't really see that in radio land, but podcast land, but you can at least imagine it with me. It has one bottom USB or micro USB input. And then it has on the right side, it has a Droid input or a micro USB Type C. And then it has... on the left, it has a lightning cable, so a lightning input. So that's for iPhone, iPad, anything that's Apple related has the lightning port. So it's got 3 ports on it, one that folds down and makes a mini port for the Type C. You've got the micro USB, Type C, standard USB, and lightning port. This will work on any mobile device. This is really, really cool. Good way to check out your game camera pictures. Betionol, I believe is the way that I pronounce the name. Betionol, yeah, Betionol. I'm not sure exactly how I pronounce the name, but it's a company out of Amazon that you can order out of. And I'm going to put the links in hopefully a coupon code as well if I can find one, but otherwise I'll just put the link so you can check it out. It's like $23. So you can buy one if you want to. But I'm going to be giving one of these away systematically over the next few weeks. And we're going to have a game cam photo contest, okay? A game cam photo contest. So send your game cam photos, all right? Your game cam pictures. Your best of the best of the best ones of that trophy buck, of that bobcat, of that coyote, of that feral hog, whatever you've got, the best of the best of the best of your game cam pictures, send them to me. Dustin at dustinsprojects.com. Easy to remember email. Dustin at dustinsprojects.com. Email me those to my personal email. I will put them up and make sure that you agree that we can use those and everything, because we're going to put them up and have people vote on the photo contest and basically say which one they like the best out of all those different pictures. And basically we will award the winner a free SD card reader that you can use on your phone while you're in the woods, micro SD or standard SD card. It reads both, and it goes with you wherever you go. It fits in your pocket. It's really, really cool. One of the coolest outdoor products as far as electronics that I've run into, because if if you ever have had to go out into the woods and everything and check your game camera, you have to go pull the SD card and go put it, get your laptop, plug it into the laptop, blah, 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 read your, go take it back over there, swap out SD cards. You can read this on your phone. And Android, it's already free software that's on there that'll read it. iPhone and iPad, you can simply download the iFlash device app, and it'll do it for you. It's awesome. This is and I have nothing but Apple stuff, Apple mobile devices, so it's worked great for me. So I really, really love this company that came out with this Betionol SD card reader. So lots of kudos to them for giving us a bunch of these to give away for our fans of the show, the Best of the Outdoors podcast. So I'm going to put a listing about this, or a post about this on Facebook when this show goes live, and just talk about what's going on. But Dustin at dustinsprojects.com. You want to find that, go ahead and look at the show notes. I'm going to have all the details in the show notes of what you can do to be a part of this promotion and send your game camera pictures in. We will vote on the best one. Winner will get a free SD card reader, so you can read your SD cards in the woods on your phone. So really, really cool thing. All right, without further ado, my guest Jeff Stewart, Crypto Hook, I'll say that the right way. Crypto Hook, Stewart, Bigfoot investigator, been on several TV shows, been on several radio shows, very well known in the cryptozoology field, as well as in cooking. He has Captain Jack or Texas Jack's cookbook out on Amazon. He'll talk about that there at the end of our show. Just an incredible guy, lots of knowledge, builds AR-15 pistols, builds custom guns, loves to hunt and fish about as much as any of us do. I mean, just really, really great guy, but kind of an expert on a lot of things that we talk about, and just kind of a thought-provoking guest to have on the show. And I know I had him on not too long ago, maybe it's been about 3 months or so ago, but man, I just love this guy. I just absolutely love his wit, his humor, his philosophy on life and everything like that, and just really identify with him well. I think you will too if this is your first time hearing him. If not, go back and listen to a couple of episodes. I've had him on before. Just search our the Best of the Outdoors podcast.podbean.com. You can check out or fishgame.com/podcast. You can find our other podcast episodes that have had Jeff Stewart on, and he's just a great guest. He also is an author of several articles, feature articles in the magazine, Texas Fishing Game Magazine, and then fishgame.com, so you can go check his stuff out there too, and he'll say that at the end of the show as well. So I'll be back at the end for our end bumper, our outro. So here we go with our interview with Jeff Stewart. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I appreciate y'all. Joining me on the phone again, Mr. Jeff Stewart. How you doing today, Mr. Jeff?
I am doing good today. How about yourself?
Oh, better than I deserve is my usual answer. And you were just talking right before we started hitting the record button. Kind of a dreary day outside. Good deer hunting weather, right?
The best. The drearier, the cooler, cold, not downright bitter cold, but
right.
Like that 40-degree drizzling rain, overcast day. That's the day I want to get in the stand a few hours before the sun comes up and sit there until the last minute of light.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee there's going to be a lot of activity, not just with whitetails, but with everything, hogs,
yeah,
coyotes, bobcats. I mean, you name it. I mean, you get to sit in the stand, and it's better than sitting at the house watching a big screen.
Yep.
Because you get to sit there and watch every animal. Squirrels, you name it. Everything's out trying to get something to eat.
Yep. That's a beauty. And the thing is, a lot of people don't think about this, Jeff, but you know what else is around the middle of the day is some of the best times to hunt. It's where some of the biggest deer of the season are killed is when people aren't in their stands. They're only in the stands morning and evening. Yeah.
Deer pattern us.
Yeah, deer pattern us. You're right.
Like we pattern them.
Yeah. That's a good point.
If you don't think that cagey old doe or that big educated old buck, if you don't think that he can't smell you when you come into your stand, smell you when you leave your stand,
right.
Hear you, see you, everything. I mean, I tell this to people all the time. People have come to me and said, how do you kill such big bucks year after year in Northeast Texas? Because Northeast Texas here is not known for giant bucks, but every year I kill 150s class. I've killed a couple of 160s class bucks, but just about every year I'm going to kill a 150 class buck or better.
Nice.
And it's because I know that those deer are patterning me, so I'll do some crazy stuff and not get out of my stand when I'm supposed to get out of my stand. Stay there.
Yeah. Pack a lunch.
And that old buck that knew that you normally leave at a certain time, he may come slipping out to see what's going on because he didn't hear you leave.
Right.
Or one of the things, I make my own cover scents.
Oh, cool.
And people are like, what about the commercial cover scents? Look, use what you like. Use what works for you.
Right.
But growing up, I mean, we were very, very financially challenged. I'm not going to say we were dirt poor, but if somebody had dirt, they probably were better than us. So, I mean, I grew up, and so I learned how to make my own cover scents. And my favorite cover scent that I use, and this has fooled so many big bucks for me, is nothing but sweet gum leaves.
Sweet gum leaves, huh?
Sweet gum. You get you a good young sweet gum sapling and strip every leaf off of it, and you put it in a Ziploc bag, and you take them and you get all the air out of the Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
And you take a rolling pin and you roll it, or take anything that can crush it without damaging the bag.
Yeah.
And you get those sweet gum leaves they'll turn dark. They go from a light green to a dark green. They're releasing all of their juices. Then you take them, you put your clothes in a plastic tote.
Yes.
You put those leaves all in there with your clothes. You put the lid on that, and you put that in the back of your truck. And you don't put those clothes on in the house. You don't put those clothes on in your truck. You got air fresheners in your truck that smell like some kind of cologne or some kind of foo-foo fairy dust. I don't know what. But, your wife has the essential oil misters going in the house, whatever makes the house smell wonderful. But to a deer, it smells like you just poured gasoline all over yourself. So you head to the stand in your PJs.
Yep.
You get to where you're going to park your truck. You get out of your truck, get back there on the tailgate. You open that up. You put your hunting clothes on right there.
Okay.
And then you walk into your stand. And when people don't, I get so aggravated whenever I take people hunting and do some guiding, and a guy gets out of the truck and his hunting clothes smell like the most fragrant fabric softener, detergent, Tide, whatever.
I've been there.
And I'm going, where are you going hunting at in that stuff? I mean, can you make a 400 or 500 yard shot? Because nothing's going to come within 400 or 500 yards of us with you with that kind of stuff.
Smell like that, yeah. And we take that for granted a lot of times as gun hunters, Jeff. We take for granted that, we're going to be 100 yards away. But, man, you'll see a lot more stuff. And I've noticed this using Vapor Trail scents or any kind of other scent spray that I use, Dead Downwind or Scent Killer or any of those.
There's some good ones.
There's some good ones. But basically, you spray yourself down, you'll see a lot more. You'll see a lot more closer to you if you take care of your scent.
Last year, I killed a 22-inch wide, 13-point buck, double drop tine, here in Northeast Texas, and on 350-acre low fence. I've had this place for 40 years. So it's not a big, huge ranch, sprawling ranch. It's a few hundred acres.
Right.
And, this deer, I mean, literally, I shot a hog on the left-hand side of my stand at about daylight. It was just, 40, 50 yard shot. And I'd shot it. I normally take 2 rifles to the stand with me when I'm gun hunting. I take a 223 bolt action rifle and my 257 Weatherby. Right. That way, if I can shoot varmints and pigs and things with the inexpensive ammunition.
Right.
So I killed the pig, and I turned and looked to my right. And I'm not saying 40 yards from my stand. I'm saying 40 feet from my stand was a chocolate horned, double drop tine, 13-point, 22-inch wide monster of a whitetail buck. And he didn't even know I was there. He was walking he had come out of the woods like right in front of my stand and was walking away from me.
Huh.
And I had to let him walk for 30 or 40 more yards because he was going straight away from me. And the only shot I had was like in the back of his neck.
Right.
And he finally stopped at about 40 yards and turned broadside to go into the woods.
Yep.
And I didn't even realize I still had my 223 in my hand. But at that distance, it was a neck shot no matter what.
Yeah, sure.
So I put one in his neck, and I realized when I pulled the trigger, that the gun didn't kick and, it wasn't my Magnum, my Weatherby.
Hold on. That was pretty
pretty
pleasant. He dropped right in his tracks, though. Okay, cool.
But that deer didn't smell me.
Right.
He did not there was nothing offensive around my stand
That would repel
as
him.
far as
Yeah.
smell, because one thing, I'm so weird. My wife, bless her heart, she puts up with a lot from me.
Mine does too.
During this time of year, we are not allowed to have any perfumes or colognes sprayed in our house. If she wants to put on perfume, she can spray it on herself in her car, but not in the house where it can get on my clothing. When we wash clothes, there is no detergent with any kind of fragrant, perfumey smell in my washing machine. I actually run you can buy washing machine deals that it cleans out your washing machine.
Oh, okay.
And I run those through there, get all the scent out of my washing machine, and I put baking soda in it to soak up any more scent that's in there. And then now until January, we will wash with nothing but free and clear, no scent, or I use my natural earth scent laundry detergent.
Okay.
That's about the only thing I'll allow to be used for this time period, and she puts up with it. Bless her heart.
Bless her
And
heart.
because I'm a scent nut.
That's cool.
Scent is, I literally am the guy that when you're standing in deer camp, you're going, what is that smell? It smells like somebody peed, and it's because I have used red fox pee and I've sprayed it on myself. Or coyote pee and sprayed it on my boots to walk into the stand.
Sure, something to mask your human odor.
Oh yeah, and I go hunt with people, and man, I can't kill a deer. I can't see a deer, and I can sit on the same stand that they sat on the day before and kill a deer.
Yeah, I see all kinds of stuff. And that's the thing, man. It doesn't really matter. Use what you want. I get that. But, you're a gun hunter for part of this. I know you're you crossbow hunt too, but that's the one thing you don't see a lot of people is people using, and I've had Rex Holmes from Vapor Trail since, Rex Holmes on here before, and he basically was saying, they've used Vapor Trail 33-point buck, which is their scent killer or their attractant. They sprayed themselves completely down with it. They laid on the ground by a feeder, and the hogs were literally stepping on top of them to try to get over them. They didn't notice that the smell was there at all. And he says, you have no idea what you will see if you watch your scent. And that has made me, but as a gun hunter, it has made me more aware of it. It's made me more aware of the situation of scent, and what it can cost you in the field, and who knows what I would have seen if I would have taken my scent more seriously.
Exactly. And, I just never will, I never will forget. I had a guy that had hired me to guide him on a hunt. And there was a big ranch, and these guys, my former agriculture teacher and his brother owned several thousand acres, and they hired me to teach this guy hunting.
Okay.
And of course, I'm like, sure, I'll take the guy hunting, no big deal, because they let me hunt on their place if I do things like that for them. So I get there at 3:00 in the morning, and I go ahead and go in the lodge, and I've got breakfast going, all of a sudden the other, and the smell of bacon and everything's going through the lodge there. And this guy comes in, and over the smell of bacon and everything, I could smell his cologne.
Oh no.
And we're not talking about laundry detergent. We're talking about, I can smell. And I knew the cologne. It was cool water.
Okay.
Great smelling cologne, man.
Famous cologne.
If you're trying to hunt ladies, but if you're trying to hunt whitetail bucks,
not so much.
So I told the guy, there was the lodge and everything. I said, go take a shower. And he said, what? I said, take a shower. We've got a few hours before we have to get on the stand. I need you to go take a shower. And he said, I just took one before I left the house. I said, I know. That's the point.
That's a problem.
If I can smell you when you come through the door, a deer can smell you a quarter mile away.
Right. True.
So he went and took a shower. I took his clothes and threw them in the laundry, washed them with the scent killer and all this, that, and the other stuff. Put them in the dryer with some scent killer dryer sheets, all 9 yards. And I went hunting that morning, and I poured this guy on the biggest 8-point buck you could have ever wanted to see.
Oh, really?
This
Wow.
thing he had bases of his horns that were literally big around soda cans.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
He wasn't the widest buck in the world. I judged him about 19 inches wide.
But he had a lot of mass, right? A lot of mass.
He was tall and heavy.
Yeah.
And just long main beams. I mean, just everything you would want in an 8-point buck.
Sure.
And this 8-point buck was literally 60 yards from us.
Yep.
And this guy was about to urinate his britches. And he was shaking so bad, and in his ear going, breathe, and take in a breath, hold it, crosshairs behind the shoulder,
squeeze,
slowly. Gun goes off. Deer bucks, jumps up, does the telltale kick and hop, and off the deer runs.
Yep.
We recover the deer. The guy was tickled, whole 9 yards, and we got back, and he was asking me, he said, why did you make me take a shower, and all that this morning? I said, if you hadn't taken that shower and got rid of all that smell you had on you, we would never have got an opportunity to kill that deer.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
I made a believer out of him that day about scent control.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's a great story. I mean, it's a deer of a lifetime for him for a giant trophy 8. I mean that's really. But again, it goes into the preparation. It goes into the thoughtfulness and the mindfulness you have as you prepare for a hunt. And when this podcast airs, it's going to be, we're going to be through the start of hunting season already, but it is something to keep in mind as you go through, regardless if you're hunting 100 miles away or 100 yards away, or if you're hunting, really close, if in a bow blind,
Exactly. The thing is, people that gun hunt don't realize something. You walk in your stand, that scent is just leaving a trail.
Right.
Think of it like fishing. You put a bait in the water, and that scent, that current, carries that scent to a fish's nose, to his capabilities of tasting and smelling.
Right.
And it brings that fish to your bait. Well, when you go hunting, you're standing there, the wind is like the current, and it's taking every scent that is on you. The dryer sheets that wife used that smelled like spring morning, the fresh cotton linen scented detergent,
right,
the air fresheners in your car, the everything, it's like everything sticks to you.
Yeah, the gas you got at the gas station.
Blows.
Yeah, the wind blows. Yeah, the thing, you get gas at the gas station. That's like cardinal rule number 1. You don't do your gas at the gas station, because everything gets attached to you, just like you're saying. And you're right, then the wind blows and you got all kinds of problems.
And it's something I've gotten away from that a lot of people do, is riding an ATV to and from my stands.
You walk in?
I walk in if at all possible, because I've yet to have an ATV that did not have an exhaust that had some smell permeating the air.
Unless you get one of those electronic ones, like the bad boy buggies and stuff that came out a few years ago.
Yes. Now, if you got an electric one or whatever,
or an electric bike or whatever,
but an internal combustion of any kind, whether it's gasoline or diesel, makes no difference.
Sure.
That exhaust is putting off. Now, that being said, I have one spot that I hunt. Doesn't matter what I do, deer coming out.
Yep.
Reason being, I have several oil field natural gas wells on this property. The guys come in and out several times a day in their vehicles, checking those wells, working on those wells. So the deer are so used to smelling that exhaust.
Yes.
They're so used to seeing those trucks come in and out. And they're so used to seeing those guys walking around those wells. I literally have killed several good deer by dressing in work clothes, tan button-up FR shirt, FR jeans with a cap on, and I can literally go and sit in the broad open on this piece of property, and deer walk out and eat, and they don't care.
That's interesting because that's their camouflage. You've got to adapt to the area that you're in. For instance, what I would do when I urban bow hunted for a number of years is we had wild onions growing around the yard where I urban bow in the neighbor's backyard, pretty much down by this creek. And I would literally just cover my feet in onions and kind of stamp some onions on the ground and stuff, some of the wild onions. You know what I'm saying? And then basically, that brought up the scent on my feet to where it covered my human scent. And people think that urban deer are easy to kill. I mean, Mr. Big, and then there was one even bigger than him that season in 2014. Those were not easy deer to kill. I mean, they would come out right at dusk, just beyond the firelight, just so you could barely get a look at them. And Mr. Big made that mistake one night where he came out after he thought shooting light was over. And I drilled him. But I mean, it's just about using your environment and those environmental factors like you're talking about to really make the hunt work for you and for you to be the dominant predator and the advantage taker in that situation. I think is what you're saying.
Right. And I know there's going to be people that are going to sit here and say, well, I killed a big deer every year and I wear my clothes the wife washed. Look, I'm not saying that a blind hog ain't going to find an acorn every now and then. But for the most part, if you want to go out and you want to hunt like I do in Northeast Texas, we're talking about Shelby and Panola County. I mean, Shelby and Panola County, if you get a 130 class buck, you've done something.
You got a stud, yeah.
Now, there are people that are managing their properties right in Panola County that get those 150, 160 class bucks because they are really putting in the time and the effort to kill to grow their deer and things like that. But I'm talking about average Joe that's, on a deer lease for $400 or $500 a year, plants him some ryegrass and puts a corn feeder up, in September, hoping to kill, your average 8-point buck.
Right.
If they do the things that I suggest, if they do the things that have been tried and true for me, instead of that 110, 115 inch, barely legal outside his ears 8-point that they're just tickled to death to get, well, they might get that 18 inch wide, 130 class, or even, that 20 inch wide, 150 class deer instead of that 110 inch 2-year-old.
Right.
I used to hunt 2-year-old bucks whenever I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Now that I'm 47 years old, I'm hunting that 6-year-old buck.
Yep. The mature buck. Yep.
I'm not beyond shooting, whatever's legal to put meat in my freezer, but my hunt, as far not my freezer filling, but my hunt is for that 6-year-old buck, 5-year-old, 6-year-old mature buck. Not, I'm good Lord. I mean, whenever they come out and they got that sway in their back, their belly round, their neck goes all the way from the top of their back down to their brisket.
You can tell it's an older deer. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
And they come out looking like they're mad at the world. That's the buck I'm hunting. Whenever I do all of these scent control things. And when you do the unexpected, I mean, hey, don't go get on the stand at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Get on the stand and hunt wherever, you hunt over here from daylight till 10 o'clock in the morning. Get off, go grab a bite to eat. At 11:30, 12 o'clock, go climb in that stand again. Go get back in it and sit there till dark.
Yep, I agree. And that's what I started off saying, on this podcast and when we started recording. I really believe that some of the best deer, and this is proven by a lot of hunting shows out there. It's proven by a lot of articles and magazines. I mean, there's a lot of experienced hunters will tell you that the best deer hunting can happen in the middle of the day, but everybody is used because those bucks have got us figured out, and like you said, they've patterned us. They pattern when we're coming in and entering that stand. The middle of the day, they know they're safe as kittens.
Exactly. I got a camera over one of my feeders, and everybody's like, "Oh, you can't kill a big buck with a camera." I'm not trying to kill a big buck with a camera. I don't get a lot of pictures of my big bucks on camera, but what I do is I pattern my does.
Yep.
I don't use a camera, trail camera, to get pictures. I do love it when I get a picture of a big buck, but the thing is, I want those does coming in, and I'll say, okay, these same 4 or 5 does are hitting my feeder every single morning at 8:30. For the past month and a half, they've been there at 8:30.
Right.
Well, guess what? Sooner or later, 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of those does are going to come into estrus.
Yep.
And there's going to be bucks on their tail. Yep. That's why I totally disagree with our first 2 weeks of season being doe days. I don't like that, because everybody and their brother kills the first 3 or 4 does that come under their feeder. Will, you've basically just messed up your rut hunt.
Right. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. You've taken out those does, so they can't reproduce, and they can't be there as an attraction for the big bucks.
Right. Like our youth weekend, I love taking the kids hunting and everything. But, we're putting kids out there in the stand, and you've got every kid in East Texas or in Texas out there, slinging lead at does. Most of these kids, from 7 years old up, they're not out there hunting a big buck. Most of these kids are slinging lead at your doe.
Yeah, you're right.
And so by the time the rut comes around, your does have been through a war.
Yeah. You're right, and you've shot your does, and you don't have the attraction point for those bucks, is what you're saying, correct? I'll ask again.
Exactly.
That's what I figured you meant. Yeah.
You're everybody has this thing. Oh, but if you wait and kill your does later in season, you're killing, the fawns too. They've been bred. It does not matter if you kill a doe the first day of season or the last day of season.
Right.
If you kill her on opening day, then she will never have fawns. True. She will not drop fawns. If you kill her on the last day, even though she's been bred, you're still taking out the same amount of deer, because the fawns that she's pregnant with will never be born. So if you kill her on day 1, they won't be born. If you kill her on day 60, they won't be born.
Right. That's true. And that's a good way to look at it.
It really doesn't matter. The only thing it does matter is that if you were able to wait until the end of season to harvest your doe, then you could hunt the rut, and you may not need to harvest the doe.
Yeah.
If you're in an area that, you want to promote more deer population, you might be able to get you a couple of bucks during the rut, and you let those does walk at the end of season.
Right.
And I know everybody's like, oh, but you want to get down to a 1-to-1 buck to doe ratio and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, I really don't. I'm not somebody that subscribes to that until we get the population. I'll put it like this. Back in the 80s, Texas decided we can kill 4 does with our hunting license. We didn't need permits. We didn't need nothing. You can kill 4 does. I think it was like 1984, 85.
Okay. I was a child during that time, so I didn't really have that experience.
I
But
was,
yeah.
I was a, you know, I was 12 or 14 years
Yeah,
old.
you were an older kid.
15 years old. So here we are out there. Everybody and their brothers killing for the opening weekend. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody's killing does. Well, that rocked on for about 2 years, I think. Well, on the third year, you didn't see a deer in East Texas. Deer were
Right.
gone. There were no does. I mean, you could sit on a green patch for a week and hope you saw a deer.
Right.
We went from being able to see 30 deer eating on a green patch to no deer. And that was
Interesting.
because everybody killed their does. So until we get numbers to where, you know, it's like it is in Central Texas and the hill country. You know, I love the hill country. It's my favorite place in
That's
the
where I
world to
live,
hunt.
baby.
And when I first went to the hill country to hunt, sitting on the stand, feeder goes off. I heard hooves on rocks, and I thought, Lord, there's a herd of cows coming to eat this corn. And no, it was deer. And there were literally 30 to 40 deer that came into that feeder.
It's a common thing here. Yeah.
Here in Northeast Texas, we've got a decent population of deer. But a feeder goes off, you may have 1 or 2 old does that come out there to eat. You got a big 10-acre green patch planted. You may have 2 or 3 deer come out to eat there. You don't have those 30 or 40 deer.
Mm-hmm.
And my way of thinking, until East Texas gets, because we got more to eat here than they got in the hill country for deer to eat.
Yeah. I know you do.
So
yeah, I mean,
until we get to where we can see those 30 or 40 deer eating out from under a feeder or eating in a field or whatever, I just don't think that we need to be shooting, you know, the first 2 weeks of season, we need to be laying down every doe that walks.
Right.
That's just me.
No, you make a good point, because I mean, I think overall, you're right. If you shoot your source of those bucks coming, your attraction source for those bucks early, you've kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm one that thinks Texas here, our counties here, they ought to give us one doe tag that we can use at any point in time during the season. Get rid of this doe days, this first 2 weeks of season, because what you end up doing too is you have every Tom, Dick, and Harry that can buy a license,
Yeah.
that has a gun, that knows nothing about hunting.
Right. About management.
You have everybody and their brother in a stand killing if it's got brown fur, they're shooting it.
If it's brown, it's down, baby.
Yeah. There are people that hunt around my lease that have small property. And I've literally sat there and passed up 1.5, 2-year-old little bucks. And they've walked toward the property line. 30 minutes later, boom, 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 boom. You know, the war starts and never see that deer again.
It's like
Well,
World
that was
War
a year
III.
and a half old deer.
Yeah. It's a young deer.
And so they're killing everything that moves the first couple of weeks of season, especially like there's been times whenever I've had, like last year, opening day of youth season, I had 18 does that came by my stand. They weren't all together, but it was 18 total.
Total, yeah.
That came by my stand.
Yeah.
And give them enough time to get over onto the next property from mine. And it sounded like Vietnam what was going on over there, because I mean it was just gunshot after gunshot after gunshot, and I'm going, how many people are hunting on that 20 acres that's beside me? Because I mean they've been shooting all day.
They're just waylaying deer, man. I mean,
yeah, they've got 20 acres and they've probably got mom, dad, 2 or 3 kids, grandpa, grandma, every uncle and cousin they can get
pulling the trigger
on that property, just killing every deer that walks out of mine onto theirs. And I like I said, I really wish Texas would just, you know, like here where I'm at, give us one doe tag and say, look, you can take a doe at any point in time during the season. That way a hunter could say, you know what, my property, not necessarily for the whole state, but my property, I don't need to kill a doe.
Yeah.
I'm not even seeing any does. So those 4 or 5 does is all I'm seeing. So instead of killing them today,
Right.
I want to hunt a buck. So I'm able to use those does just like I'm using a corn feeder, just like I'm using any other attractant. And you're going to hunt those does. That's how I kill big bucks. I hunt the does,
Yeah, that's
but I
good.
don't shoot the does. But I hunt. I
You
use
hunt
them
you as a
to
decoy,
bring in
right?
my deer.
Yeah, like kind of like
Yeah,
as a live decoy. Yeah, and see that's a brilliant way of looking at it. I'll never forget when I first started hunting seriously, and this is back in the mid 2000s. And I really was going after the trophy deer. I was hunting with my insurance agent at the time. Now he's gone and he's a field producer for a big hunting show now, and he was on Drury Outdoors and Dream Season, which was a big TV show that aired and stuff back several years ago. And but he would always get on me. He said, "Dustin, don't shoot young deer." He said, "Shoot you a 5 or 6 year old buck." And I finally did in 2008. That's the buck that I always joke around that got Megan pregnant. I said if I kill a deer that big, we'd have babies. You know, we'd start a family. And I'm looking at that deer right now, and I mean it was 2008, and he walked out, and he was 5 to 6 years old. You could tell the way that his saddle looked. You could tell the way that his whole he walked and his body was. He was 5.5, 6 years old, and I shot him eating some acorns, and it was a great buck, and it was just. But it was one of those things that I had to experience what it was like harvesting a mature buck and waiting and waiting and waiting the years to harvest one versus just pulling the trigger on the first thing that walked out. And there's a level of
exactly.
maturity that comes with doing something like that, is my point.
Well, there comes a point in time. I guess it's maturity as a hunter, I guess.
Yes.
But there comes a point in time whenever you say, "I'm willing to risk not getting a deer this year at all in order to hunt and enjoy the hunt for
Right.
that mature buck."
Right. Right. Right.
Now, I can go out. I can go out tomorrow and I can kill a decent deer. I can kill a 15, 16 inch wide, 8 point, 9 point, whatever. I can go out and kill that deer tomorrow. It's not that big a deal for me. So enjoying the hunt
Yes.
is, looking through that spotting scope or that pair of binoculars or your rifle scope or whatever at that 3-year-old 8 point that's 16 inches wide,
Right.
really pretty, really good buck, and going, "I'm going to let you go." Now here's that catch-22 situation. If you're not hunting on a large piece of property, as soon as that buck walks over the property line, somebody else is going to kill him.
Yes, I've heard that many
So
times.
as a hunter, it just becomes, I'm willing to let that happen in order to get that 22-inch wide 13-point buck.
Mm-hmm.
To get that, I've got a 24 and an 1/8 inch wide 11-point that I killed about 4 years ago. Middle of the day, November, before Thanksgiving. It had gotten up to 78 degrees that day. It was hot. I was sweating, but a thunderstorm was blowing in, and it was bringing a cold front with it.
I was just about to say it's probably bringing a front. Yep.
My son and I got on our deer stand at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I got off work early, picked him up from school early. I knew it was going to be one of those days. So we go get on a stand in the middle of the most dense pine thicket that I had. Had a little box stand, had a shooting lane in front of the stand that was about 40 yards long, and you could see about 100 yards on the right and the left of the stand. But it was dead in the middle of the biggest thicket you ever saw. So I'm sitting on this stand. My son is sitting there. He's looking one way. I'm looking the other. We'd been there about 10 minutes when this deer just all of a sudden walks out 40 yards straight in front of the stand. And I did not look at him to see how wide he was. I didn't look at him to see anything. I picked up my rifle, shot him. He fell over dead. Me and my son got out of the stand, sat there outside the stand just watching him to make sure he didn't get up
Yep.
for about 30 minutes. And then we walked down to this deer. And the closer, sometimes you see deer, and the closer you get, the smaller they get.
Yeah, ground
He looked a
shrinkage.
whole
Yeah,
lot bigger on. This was just the opposite. The closer we got,
the
the
bigger it
bigger
got.
this.
Wow.
This deer had the most mass. It was the biggest deer I'd ever seen. Body wise, it's the biggest deer I'd ever seen in my life. And we walked up to this deer, and I picked this deer up, grabbed his horns, and my hands would not go all the way around the bases.
Golly, that's a big hoss, man.
And I mean, I got huge meat hooks for
I know
hands.
you
I mean,
do.
I'm a
You have
big
big
guy.
hands. I know you do. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there holding this, and my son is going, "Oh my God, Dad, this is the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life." And I call my dad, and this is funny. I give my dad this. Excuse me.
You're fine.
And I give my dad this story. I say, "Dad, I done made a mistake. I killed the biggest old doe in East Texas, and I can't find her. I shot her, and I can't find her." He said, "Boy, it ain't doe days. What do you mean you done killed a doe? You know better to kill does when it ain't legal." I said, "Dad, I need your help. I need you to come help me find it." He said a few choice cuss words and said, "I'll be there in a minute." So he slammed the phone down. About 20 minutes later, I can hear where my stand was. You could hear the gate open to the hunting lease. And I hear him opening the gate, and I hear him driving toward my stand. And he's driving kind of rough, because he's mad. He's coming in here just mad. This thing got dark by now.
Sure.
So we meet him at the deer stand, and he gets out of his vehicle, and he's like slamming the door. And, "Boy, you'd have just given me the 3rd degree for killing a doe. This is wrong. You shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah." And I know, Dad, I know, but I couldn't help it. I just blah, blah, blah. And just got my head hung low, just taking the butt chewing that he's giving me. And we start walking. He said, "Where is it?" I said, "Well, it was out here. Come on." I got my flashlight, and I'm shining the ground right in front of us. And Dad's walking. We're looking for blood. And I get to where the deer's at, and I'm standing there with the light on the deer.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's looking for blood off like 5 feet from us. He hadn't seen the deer yet. And he's over there looking for blood. And I said, "Hey, look over here. I think I got some blood." And he turns, he sees that deer laying there.
Yeah.
Well, I have not shined this deer's head yet.
Yeah.
He's like, "Good Lord, that's the biggest old doe I've ever seen." And I shined his head, and he goes, "Oh my God."
Holy smokes. Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "I got you." And he's like, "Oh, son, that's the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life."
Wow.
Well, me and my dad and my son, he was probably 8 or 9 years old. I mean, he wasn't very old, but he was still a big old boy. Me and my dad couldn't load this deer in the back of my truck. The body weight on this deer, I swear to you, this was a 200-pound deer.
Oh my goodness.
And here where we at, I mean, 150 is big.
That's a pig, yeah.
This deer, I mean, I am like very, very strong. I mean, I played college and semi-pro football and everything. I mean, I'm former law enforcement. I mean, everything. I'm very strong, big fella. I could not get this deer in the truck, even with my dad and my son's help.
Whoa.
I had to take a ratchet strap that was in the back of the truck and put it around his antler and hook it to the front of the bed of the truck.
Horse him up
and
there.
My dad got up there and was working the ratchet strap, and I was picking the deer's front end up, and he'd get the slack. And then I'd pick up another couple of inches. It took us about 45 minutes or more to get this deer in the back of the truck.
Holy smokes.
And
wow.
Here's something that is going to kill people when they hear this. I did not mount that deer. Deer scored 162 Boone Crockett.
Wow.
And I did not, and that's green score, of course.
Green
that's
score,
not
without the deductions. Yeah, I'm with you.
That's just total points, because I don't believe in deductions. I believe if a deer grew it, it should count.
Yeah.
But he was an 11 point, 24 and an 1/8 inch wide.
That's a hoss of a deer, man.
And just one side of his rack, the tines were about 2 inches longer than every tine on the right-hand side.
Right.
Both sides were huge, but one side was just a little bit bigger. So if you go to taking deductions and everything off, this deer's probably going to score 150, you know. But if you just give him everything, but still, I didn't mount this deer. And people ask me, so, you know, they come in my man cave, and I've got a dozen sets of antlers there that are 22 or better inches wide.
Right.
And everything from 7-point bucks that are 20 something inches wide to 13 point, you know, stuff like that. And they're like,
Right.
why don't you get these deer mounted? And I'm like, you know, I really want to one day, but I love buying guns. And it's hard for me to justify paying $500 to have a deer head mounted.
Oh, at least
when I can buy a new gun for that same $500.
So you chop off the skull cap and call it a day then?
Some of them, yes. Some of them, I go ahead and boil the head.
Yeah,
so I've got
the
skull and everything, so that later on I could have it mounted, European mounted or whatever.
Sure.
I
was just curious.
But it's just. You there?
I'm here.
Okay. And they got like no static.
No, I was listening to you. Well, and the other thing I was going to mention to you as well is I did a podcast this last episode, solo podcast on Skull Hooker, which makes kind of elegant mounts for European mounts. Elegant ways to display. They have the trophy tree, they have the turkey hooker, they have the little hooker, they have the big hooker, and then for skull caps, they've got the bone bracket. And if you haven't checked that out before, audience, skullhooker.com, that's skullhooker.com. They're out of the western, I think they're out of Oregon, but they've really come up with an elegant way to showcase your antlers, and they're one of the sponsors of this show, so I wanted to definitely plug them too.
So you're trying to get me divorced, because if I go to my wife and say, baby, you need to order me a big hooker.
Yeah, I know. That doesn't sound right, dude.
I may get punched in the face.
But, you know, it's kind of a fun name because they have the little hooker and the big hooker and the turkey hooker and all that stuff. And so you can definitely play the words a little bit. But it's just it's a really, really nice way to – it's kind of like a aluminum, not aluminum, it's a steel. It's kind of a brushed, polished steel. Metal that they use, and you can put them on the wall, and then you can turn them one way or the other, to showcase the best side of that deer and everything like that. Really cool stuff, and I mean they're really affordable too. You just have to bring your euro, have it boiled out professionally by a taxidermist, or do it yourself, in the backyard with a couple of cold ones. So.
I've tried several different ways. I've done the boiling them out and everything, and then I've tried the burying the skull in the ground.
Yeah, with the ants.
Thing, and everything, and you can't do that around here.
Right. It'll get dragged off, right? Or drug off, I should say.
I've literally taken a T-post, metal T-post, and driven it in the ground.
Yeah.
And then taken wire.
Yeah, wired it up.
And wired that skull to that T-post, dug a hole, set the skull down in it, then covered it back up with dirt. Come back 2 days later, and they have gnawed it all to pieces. Yeah. Something has dug it up and gnawed it all to pieces. So, for me, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to boil it.
Yeah, boil it out, yeah. And I've got a friend that's a taxidermist here in local in Central Texas, and he uses a peroxide solution that I don't even think most people can buy on the open market, but he puts it in that peroxide. He has been having people say that they think that they painted the skull, and not actually, it boils out so clean and so nice. So he boils it like in a vat of peroxide once he boils out the head. But he basically sets it there overnight, and then it cleans out all the junk. I mean, it's pretty cool. So there's definitely different ways you can
have the insects that they can put the skull down in there in just a day or two. Those insects will will strip that skull.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. And there are guys that you can buy those beetles from, or you can take your mount in and they work on the Smithsonian and all these other different artifacts and stuff that they need to demeat, if you will. And yeah, that's a very common thing, and that's something that you could do as well. The only thing is you got to feed the beetles after you're done with them, so or sell them to somebody else. But no, that's a really good idea too. I forgot to mention that on my show last week, but yeah, that's a good one. So before we get too far into this, because we're almost at like an hour of recording, youth and hunting. You take youth out. I'm taking Jackson, my 10-year-old, out for his first deer this year. He is shooting an AR-15 223 with Federal Fusion 62 point trophy bonded ammo. Shot a double bullseye with touching groups last week when I took him to the gun range. I think he's ready.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. I think you're probably how big is your son?
He's a smaller guy. I mean, he's tall and skinny.
And the reason I ask, I know how big your son is. I'm just doing this for our listeners.
I know, that's fine.
I have seen pictures.
Yeah, I know you have. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I think too many parents make a problem by giving their kid too much gun.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's why I wanted to bring up youth, because I think that's so important.
A 223 is plenty of rifle to kill a white-tailed deer.
Yep.
I know there's people that say, they're wounded. No, with today's ammunition.
Yes, correct.
You're able to put a heavier peel. That's what for everybody listening, a peel is what we call
a bullet. Yeah, that's kind of old school talk. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
You can put a heavier peel in that 223. You can put up to a 75 grain peel.
Yep.
In a 223, if you've got the right twist in your barrel to accurately shoot it. Most of your bolt action 223s do have the correct twist in the barrel to shoot that, but when you're building an AR, you can get whatever twist you want in a barrel.
Yeah, 1 and 7 if you're shooting a heavier grain, or a 1 and 9 if you're shooting a lighter grain, or so on and so forth. Yeah, 1 and 9 twist or 1 and 7 twist.
And I suggest splitting the difference and go with a 1 and 8.
1 and 8. Twist. You're so funny. Yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying.
That way you can shoot. You can still get decent accuracy out of a 50, 45, and 50 grain peel.
Right.
Or you can get decent accuracy out of your 62 to 75 grain peels.
Yep.
But I suggest you're going after whitetails, you get a pointed soft point in as heavy a bullet as you can accurately shoot.
Yeah, I agree with you. And for me, that's been Federal Fusion. Before then, I was shooting Hornady Spire Points, custom loaded ammunition by a guy by the name of Sam Paxton here in the Round Rock area. He's called his company Sam Munition, which is kind of cute. Of the Hornady Spire Points. And then also I've got Hog Hammer from Remington, which uses Barnes trophy bonded bullets. There's just a wide variety of different ones. My buddy that I went to high school with messages me, and he killed a deer the other day with a neck shot with a 75 grain or maybe a 72 grain, I'm not sure, but it was a Sierra Match King. It was a Federal round, but it was Sierra Match King bullets. And Match Kings aren't supposed to be used for hunting, but he showed me the cavity that this thing left, and it was plenty accurate and did plenty of damage. I mean, it put that deer down right there.
Well, here's one of the things: if you're neck shooting, I mean, honestly, you could use a full metal jacket, and you're gonna put a deer down.
But if you're shoulder shooting, that's something else.
I'm not saying I advocate using an FMJ on deer.
I know. No, we all know that. Yeah, I'm with you, Jeff.
You can use it, but you're talking about a kid behind the shoulder, that kind of a shot. That 62 grain bullet, that Federal Fusion that you're using, that bullet has a good controlled expansion. It's not going to have the range of some of your lighter bullets, but I mean, we're talking about a kid. You're not fixing to let a kid shoot, or I hope you wouldn't, or our listeners,
400 yards,
but our listeners wouldn't let a kid shoot at a deer at 350 yards with a 223 with any bullet in it.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
But you take that 150 yard in kind of shot, and that 62 grain bullet, you're almost shooting at them. I mean, that's getting almost into 243 range as far as bullet weight
Yeah.
and capabilities at that 150-yard range
or less. Yeah.
And nobody argues that a 243 is not a good deer gun. I mean, 243 is probably one of the best deer calibers, non-magnum deer calibers there is.
Yeah, because it's a 308 that's necked down to a 243 bullet. I mean, it shoots flat, it shoots fast. I mean, it's really good. But my whole thing is, I built him an AR-15 for the purpose of deer hunting, so I could basically be anti-establishment and not just go the way of everybody else buying a 243 single shot for their first gun. I mean, I wanted something for him to be proud of. And
I dislike that so much that everybody. I had that problem this weekend with one of my youth having a New England Firearms single shot youth rifle, big old heavy barrel on this thing, and the trigger pull has got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 pounds. On this gun. I kid you not. I mean, I literally would love to put my trigger gauge on that,
18
and I
pounds.
guarantee you it's going to be 15 to 18 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I mean, but and that's not going to be the most accurate gun for that reason, for sure. So, I mean,
everybody goes and they buy these single shot rifles because you can buy one for $130,
right, cheap, yeah,
at any of your department stores. And, you can throw, and then they throw a $30 scope on it. You got a $120 gun and a $30 scope, and they buy the cheapest box of ammunition they can.
Right.
Then they set a kid out there. And I'm just the opposite. When I set a kid out there, when I take a kid with me, I'm getting one of the best rifles I have.
Yep.
That's a youth rifle. I have, I'm pulling a Ruger 77 out of the cabinet that is a 22-250 that has had the stock shortened and everything. And we're not talking about a hair trigger. We're talking about a 5-pound trigger.
Yeah, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. That's not 18 pounds, dude. I mean,
yeah, and we're talking no creep on the trigger. We're talking about a scope on this thing that is quality. I mean, you're not talking about just something that is not going to shoot with.
Yeah, sure.
Because I want this kid to succeed. I want to give this kid every chance to succeed.
Sure.
And everybody's like, oh, 22-250, that's not a deer caliber. Believe me, I've killed so many deer with a 22-250 that it would blow your mind.
Oh, my father-in-law loves that caliber. He's got, I believe it's a Remington 700 in 22-250, and he shoots does in the neck with that, spikes in the neck with that. He shoots turkeys in the neck with that. I mean, it's wicked accurate. He's got about a 3-pound trigger on it, and it's nice.
Well, we ended up this weekend with 3 for 3.
Yes.
Took 3 youth hunters out.
Can I use those? 8. Can I use those pictures in my show notes? From Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And I have to send you another picture because that was only 2 of the young men.
Yep.
The other young man was hunting with his mother in one of our stands.
Okay.
And he got a doe, and they took it on to, he had a soccer game after we hunted that morning, so they dropped it off at a processing plant, facility. Mm-hmm. He had to get to a soccer game, but he got his deer. But
that's
anyhow, awesome. We were 3 for 3. Our little 8-year-old is my nephew Sawyer, and Sawyer, he shot a deer Saturday morning, and we could not find it. Mm-hmm. We searched. There was just a couple of drops of blood at the feeder and a big chunk of bone at the feeder. Mm-hmm. And we searched for 4 or 5 hours. Never. And I mean, I can find a flea in the middle of a blacktop road. I'm a pretty professional tracker. Yeah. This deer did not bleed.
Right.
This deer just did not bleed. And I believe it was a low leg shot. Yeah. Is what I believe happened. And that's whenever went to look at his rifle to see what he was shooting. He was sitting in the stand with his dad.
Yeah.
And when I went and inspected his rifle, I found the 18-pound trigger and the,
Yeah.
and shooting a 7mm 08, which I think is
yeah.
way too much
It's a
gun
little
for an
bit too much
8-year-old
gun.
kid.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much gun.
140 grain soft point bullet punching that kid pretty hard.
Yeah. So he could have flinched. I mean, there are a number of things that could have happened. Yeah.
So we ended up getting him. He ended up Sunday morning. He did get a doe Sunday morning, and she fell right where he hit her at.
Cool.
But it was about a 40-yard shot, so it was a good one. And so we ended up with 3 youth hunters hunting, and all 3 getting deer. One of our youth hunters, my cousin's son, Caleb, and they have moved since last year. They moved here to Tenaha, Texas.
Cool.
He retired as a captain of the Bossier City Fire Department. He's been a firefighter his whole life.
Wow.
And paramedic. And so he made fire captain a few years ago, and been with the department 20 some odd years, and decided he was going to retire and come home, and brought his son, who I love dearly, and I started allowing me to teach him how to deer hunt.
Cool.
And this year, last year he got 2 deer, and this year he got him a buck, a good spike during the youth weekend.
Wow.
And I love that more than anything.
Oh, sure.
Taking kids hunting and teaching. The great thing is, when Caleb shot his deer, the deer ran, but it had a good blood trail. So I allowed him, with my tutelage, I allowed him to blood trail that deer. Well, my other 2, well, actually, my little 8-year-old nephew who was with me, because his parents had gone to take the other son to the soccer game.
Right.
They both jumped in there and started blood trailing. Well, the deer had went one way, doubled back, and then went another way.
I see.
And so they had lost the blood. Well, I could still see it. Mm-hmm. And so I allowed them for a good 30 minutes to look. And I didn't just tell them, hey, there it is. And I allowed them to find it.
Right.
And we trailed this deer, and it took us longer to find this deer than it should have, because he didn't go but about 60 yards. But I let them do it with my tutelage and saying, look here, look, do this. And,
sure.
And they tracked that deer. And that's something that I do when I take anybody hunting, whether it's youth or whether it's adults, it doesn't matter. I use everything as a teachable moment.
Sure. Absolutely. You've got to, to really make it meaningful.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be there forever and every single time to track someone's deer for them. Mm-hmm. It's one of those deals where, you need to be able, I'll put it like this. By the time I was 12 years old, grown men were coming to my mother and father's house to pick me up, to take me to where they shot a deer to look for their deer.
So you're that good of a tracker. That's really cool.
I was raised up tracking. I was raised up, like I said before, we were, monetarily challenged.
Yeah.
And, Dad would give me 2 bullets.
Yeah.
Or, I may have a box of bullets that I've been using to deer hunt with for the last 6 or 7 years, and I'm down to my last 2 bullets, and we don't have money to go buy another box of bullets.
Right. So make it count.
So, yeah, you shot, and when you shot, the difference between going and finding that deer, you didn't just say, oh man, he ran off. No, because in our house, when we had deer meat in the freezer, that meant I got to eat as much as I wanted to at the dinner table.
Yep.
Instead of Mama frying a chicken, and I had 2 sisters, a mama and a dad.
You had to fight over
and we
it.
had 1 chicken split up between 5 people.
Right.
So, and Daddy had to have enough chicken left over to take for his lunch tomorrow to go to work.
Yep.
So, as a kid, you got 1 chicken leg. Your sister got 1 chicken leg. Your other sister got a thigh or something. Mama and Daddy got a breast, and Daddy had a thigh and a couple of wings to take for his lunch tomorrow.
Right. Exactly.
But when we had deer, or squirrels or hog or ducks or whatever that I could go kill. Which Daddy liked to squirrel hunt, but he didn't do much deer hunting and stuff. He let me do all that.
Sure.
I mean, he knew how, but once I come along, he
didn't
trained
need
me
to
how to
anymore.
do it and let me. He enjoyed hunting through me.
Sure, vicariously. Yeah, I'm with you. That's really
and
cool.
so I learned how to track.
Right.
Because if I came home and I shot a deer, Daddy, and well, now I'm out of bullets. Well, now you can't hunt for the rest of the, for 2 weeks or whatever
Right.
until we get the money to buy some more bullets.
Right.
I've sat in a stand with a lot of these kids, and the first deer that comes under the feeder, oh, I want to shoot it. No, we're hunting.
Yeah.
We're not killing.
Yeah.
We're hunting. So we're going to wait. Now, I may let you take this doe in a little bit, but let's look at these does that come out here. That doe's got 2 fawns with her. We don't want to shoot her.
Right.
She's producing 2 fawns every year. Let's don't shoot her.
Right.
This doe comes out there. Well, she's a yearling doe, but she's got a fawn with her. Oh, look, here comes this old swayback doe out of the woods, and she does not have a fawn with her.
Yep. There's
well,
the
let's
one.
Shoot her.
Yeah, there's the one. And that's the thing that makes it meaningful, too, is it is not just about pulling the trigger and drawing the blood. It's about the experience of what makes us primally, and you and I have talked about this many times on the show, but what makes us primally human and what makes us primally, hunters, that's what draws us into nature is the thrill of the hunt, and it's not just about killing meat, that's my other thing.
Exactly. That's what I want these kids to understand is that it's not about pulling the trigger.
Right. That's what I'm
It's of the whole experience. It's the getting up and sitting in that deer stand, watching that sun come up over the trees.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Watching the sun glisten on the dew or on the frost that's on the ground. Them cold, crisp mornings that seems like you can hear for 10 miles.
Right.
Because, for some reason, the cold, you can hear better. Or if you actually ever do get a chance to hunt in the snow, the difference it sounds, everything's like so quiet.
Yes.
That's what I want to teach these kids.
Sure.
And sitting there and hearing the different kinds of birds and telling these kids that is a pileated woodpecker, or that is a red cockaded woodpecker, or that's a red bird, or that's a Jenny Wren, as we call them. The little Jenny Wrens get in the leaves and sound like a 400-pound gorilla coming through the brush, and it's a little old 6-ounce bird.
That's for sure.
That's what I want to teach these kids, and that's what I want them to enjoy.
Sure.
Watching a couple of what we call cat squirrels. Everybody else calls them gray squirrels because they really are, but around here we call them cat squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
But them squirrels and gray squirrels running up and down a tree, chasing each other and round and stuff. Sit there and watch that. That's part of hunting.
Well, and also, like my friend Michael Foster, who's been on the show a couple of times before, he's one of the kids or not kids, he's in his late 20s. He's one of the young adults that I'm mentoring. He thinks we've lost our way because we haven't started our kids with deer hunting or with squirrel hunting. He thinks that we are getting a 13-point buck for our first deer is kind of losing the whole passion of why we hunt to begin with, what makes us primally human. And I think he has a point, because when you go squirrel hunting, that's a hustle. I mean, that's a grind, and that's not for a lot of meat either.
And I totally agree. That's one of the things that Lala, be quiet, baby.
I'm sorry.
Lala's barking.
It's okay.
But that's one of the things. Whenever you take a kid and they're 6, 7, 8 years old, and you take them on a guided hunt, and you put them on a massive 16-point non-typical 170-inch Boone and Crockett buck, and this kid is 8 years old, 9 years old or something.
Where do you go from
what
there?
What does a kid have to look forward to?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On?
That's my whole point. What's next? I mean, they've shot the biggest deer of their life, maybe, and that then what? Then what? Yeah. I said the same thing.
I'm a firm believer. Kid ought to start out. I started out with a single shot 22 and a Mossberg bolt action 410 shotgun.
Heck yeah, I've got a Mossberg bolt action shotgun myself, sir. Yes, sir.
And I killed my first squirrel. I toted that Mossberg bolt action shotgun in the squirrel woods, following my dad for 3 years before he ever let me have a bullet to go in.
Right. Right.
He watched me and see how safe I was, and made me do things. And he carried my bullets in his pocket. And when we saw, I shot the fox squirrels. He shot the gray squirrels.
Yeah.
You know, the old red fox squirrel, he's slow.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'd get one that was just sitting there begging to be shot. And that was the first thing I ever shot, was a fox squirrel. And then the next thing, I got to go rabbit hunting, and I got to shoot a rabbit.
Sure.
And, you know, I was 13 years old before I ever killed a white-tailed deer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I killed a doe. I killed a little yearling doe. And I didn't kill a buck until I was like 15 or 16 years old.
You graduated to that process.
A 6-point buck.
Yeah.
And I didn't kill what I would say, what I consider now, you know, a big buck until I was probably, I don't know, in my 20s, well into my 20s.
Sure.
You know, I'd killed a few little, you know, 15-inch wide 8-points and things like that, but I didn't kill like a 18-inch wide, 19-inch wide, you know, 120, 130-inch buck until I was well into my adulthood years.
Yep. Yep.
And, you know, I didn't kill a 140, 150 class buck until I was probably in my 30s.
Right.
And it wasn't from lack of hunting. It was just, you know, you working your way up. And I'm with you 100%. You know, if you're sitting here, you know, I see it all the time, you know, little kids on social media and places that's sitting there, you know, you got little Jimmy, and he's a straddle of a deer that I myself, as a almost 50-year-old hunter, have never killed
right
one that good. And you're sitting there going, you know, this, I hate to say it, and I don't just want to discourage anyone from hunting, but this kid didn't earn that deer.
Yeah. You have a point.
He didn't go hunting that deer, and he didn't earn that deer. He went out there and killed that deer.
Yeah.
So that parent just taught that kid to go kill something, not to go hunt something.
Right. Right. Not to wait, not to shoot the mature deer versus the young deer, not to, you know, understand the biology of how stuff works in the outdoors. It's just going to kill, you know? Yeah. I see what you're saying. It's a big difference.
And I'm a firm believer, you know, if you're doing it legal and everything, go ahead and do it. Do whatever. It's legal. You know, it's your right to do that. But I don't have to agree with it.
Sure.
But I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just going to maybe point out that, you know, possibly, you know, maybe the kid should have started out with a nubbin buck or with a spike or a 4-point or
something,
you know, something to where, you know, you can allow this kid to still enjoy hunting, because, you know, I know as an adult, you know, last year I killed this 13-point, you know, big, huge buck and everything. This year, I'm probably going to be disappointed if I don't kill something just as big or bigger.
Right. And that's normal for a lot of hunters to think of, you know, that as well. So, I mean, that's just kind of the way that we're wired. But you got there. You arrived there. You went on a journey to get there, Jeff. That's my point.
And that journey has been, other than my wife and my children, that journey, and my wife, my children, and the good Lord, but that journey has been the love of my life.
Right.
That's why I take kids hunting. That's why I do the things that I do.
Right.
Is because that journey has meant so much to me, and the journey of hunting has made me grow as much as an individual and as a human being.
Yeah.
As anything else has, because you grow from being that excited little that knows nothing about conservation to the adult that understands conservation, that understands passing up that doe that's got the 2 fawns, because she's going to have 2 next year and 2 the next and 2 the next. And, you know,
teachable moments, like you were saying. Yeah, teachable moments.
And I have people all the time that say, why kill? Like we were talking earlier, the doe early in the season. And I'm like, well, why not kill a 4-point buck
Right.
instead? And they're like, well, I'd rather save my bucks. I said, but if you kill that doe, you just killed a buck.
Right. Yep.
Because she was going to have 2 fawns.
Yep.
And one of those fawns was going to be a buck.
Right. You got
So
to look
you
at it the
just
long
killed
picture.
a buck. It doesn't matter if you waited till he was an 8-point or whether you killed him at a 4-point. It doesn't matter because when you killed that doe, you killed a buck too.
It's a bird's eye view, of nature and ecology and how that biology works, and I think that's something we need for perspective sometimes,
Right. It's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
Yeah. And as outdoorsmen and conservationists, we grow in our knowledge like we're supposed to. We're supposed to grow in that knowledge.
Sure.
You're not just born knowing what you know. I mean, what has taken you years of hunting to learn, taken me years of hunting to learn. We get it out of a magazine, even though we love to read our magazine, Texas Fish and Game Magazine, best publication in the U.S., not just Texas.
Yep, that's right.
Go ahead.
No, that's right. I was just reiterating best publication in the world, man. So,
yeah, I mean, and we can't get certain things. We can get entertainment, we can get tips, we can get lots of knowledge from books and magazines and TV shows. And I suggest, people watch all the hunting shows and DVDs, videos, anything, man. Watch them and take stuff away from them. But there's things that you've just got to learn firsthand, and take away that knowledge and add that knowledge to your repertoire, I guess is the best thing to say.
Sure. Yeah.
And you grow, and the next thing you know, you're sitting here 47 years old going, I have devised the best things to plant on my property for my deer to eat.
Sure.
And what's the best for me? I mean, it may not be for you. I don't just go buy your pre-mixed seeds. There are some great ones out there. But I'm the type of person that I've discovered through being farming my whole life with my parents. No, we didn't farm for commercial, but we raised gardens.
Sure.
Because we packed it and bottled it and canned it and whatever else we could to eat during the year. And I learned through doing that what the deer like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
In our garden, what they ate clean to the ground and what they left alone.
Right. You got to see it firsthand. Yeah.
So now when I go down and I plant my food plots for whitetail deer, I plant gardens.
Sure.
Like I'm going to be harvesting it for myself.
But letting the
I
deer
plant purple hull peas. Deer will eat purple hull peas plumb down to the nub. I plant turnip greens. Deer will eat turnip greens plumb down. They ain't nothing. They'll paw the turnips up out of the ground and eat them.
Yep.
So I'm not just planting that. I'm planting soybeans because I've seen the deer just devastate soybean fields.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not putting down any deer, hush baby. I'm not putting down any deer plot mixes or anything like that because they work. I know they work. I've seen them work. But me personally, I just plant what I've learned.
What you know.
And it took me that firsthand knowledge that we're talking about to learn what to do, what to plant.
No, that's really smart. That's really, really smart because I think overall, and that kind of leads into, the knowledge and the education that you learn in the journey. It's not about the destination of killing the trophy buck. It's about the journey to get there. And I didn't understand that until I really matured a lot more in hunting over the last few years, that I've really understood it's not all about the catch. And I talk about this on the show all the time. It's not about the catching. It's not about the killing. It's about the journey you're on. It's not about the destination. It's not about, the trophy. It's about the process. And that's what makes all this stuff work. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect opinion as far as I'm concerned. We share that opinion.
Yeah, I know. That's what I like about you. And the other thing I was going to tell you is, let's see here. I was trying to find it on Facebook real quick on my phone, but the shaming, like we were going to talk about on this show, the hunting shaming. There was a meme that I saw the other day that was, 1979. When I was born, the way a hunter, hey, nice buck. And now it's all about nice buck. Do you have the sheds from the last 3 years? Do you have picture game cam photos? Do you have what did you feed? Man, did you see that one that your buddy killed? That one's a toad. And all these other things. It was just like and I know that it's not exactly deer shaming, but we care a lot more about the trophy factor than we care about the process of hunting. Is my point. And it drives me nuts.
Exactly.
And I see hunters themselves, like you and I were talking about before we started recording, hunters themselves tearing each other down, eating their own, just to try to make a
Right.
point. And one of the books that I'm reading right now, says, surrender your way of making yourself right about everything. And for me, I've started doing that. Has made me feel so much more free in my life because I don't have to be right about everything. And I don't have to criticize the next guy if his deer isn't as big as mine. It's not about that. There's my rant.
Exactly. I've gotten away from it. I used to be as bad as anybody. I used to just couldn't wait to jump on somebody or get them or whatever. I used to. And then I realized I'm my own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And I go on these social media pages that I just ought to love to be on, and I don't love to be on them anymore. And I actually don't get on there and this, that, and the other, because the other evening I was popped up on my social media page timeline. This guy had, killed a deer with his bow. This deer, excuse me.
You're fine.
This deer was a small deer, 5 point, something like that. 2.5-year-old buck. Everybody's ripping him out. I wouldn't have killed that. That's a 2.5-year-old deer. You ought not. You can't call yourself a hunter if you're killing deer like that. And this guy's like, it's the biggest deer I've ever seen.
Sure.
In a deer stand, biggest deer I've ever killed. I only started hunting 2 years ago or something like that, and I got a doe and a spike, and now I've got this deer, and I'm going, congratulations, buddy.
Sure.
But when I'm going, congratulations, buddy, everybody else is downing this guy for killing this deer, and I'm like,
and then
wow,
you get down,
some of them are getting so nasty with him that you I mean, really, I'm on there like feeling sorry for the guy,
and you're getting it too, because you're siding with him. All of a sudden you're the enemy number one too. I mean,
exactly. You're the enemy, and these guys are on there like bad mouthing people. That's a bad shot. I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't shoot that kind of bow.
Well, and
that broadhead is junk.
Yeah,
this arrow is junk.
What I shoot with is great. Yeah, and what you shoot with is junk. And I mean, I hate that. It just drives me nuts. I mean, so yeah, I'm on the same page with you. And that's the thing, man. We've got to unite. We've got to get along with each other. But I see in our culture we're so narcissistic and so self-serving that our way. And again, I know I'm pro staff for Grim Reaper Broadheads. I'm on the co-op shooting staff for Gold Tip. I mean, those are my favorite brands. But I don't tell you that if you shoot Rage, your stuff's junk. I have reasons why I prefer Grim Reaper over Rage, but that's my whole point.
Right. So, and I've seen just as many deer killed with a Rage as I have anything else.
Yeah.
I have seen just as many deer wounded with a Rage or a Schwacker or any of that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just these people are keyboard warriors and they're attacking everybody. A couple of years ago, I wrote an article for Texas Fish and Game called "Divided We Fall."
That's good.
And in that, talking about how, as hunters, you have people that are like, a lot of your bow hunters. Oh, if you hunt with a crossbow, you're not a bow hunter.
Right. Yeah.
You're lazy if you hunt with a crossbow.
Right. I get that all the time.
And then you have, the guys that are bow hunters and crossbow hunters that say, oh, if you hunt with a rifle, you're trash.
Yep. I brought that up on the show many times before. Yep.
You have guys that hunt with different things, and because you don't hunt my way and you don't hunt with my type of equipment, then you're not a hunter.
Right. Right. Your stuff's worthless. My stuff's worth everything. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I've asked some of these people before. I said, so you're hunting with a compound bow that has 80% let off, has 70 pounds of pull, shoots a modern carbon micro diameter arrow with a mechanical broadhead and some kind of blazer or whatever vanes and lighted nocks, and you have a single cam or whatever on your bow, and you have a drop away rest, and you have all of these modern things on your bow.
Yep.
And you want to tell a guy that's shooting a crossbow that he's junk. Well, if you weren't, and I've told people this just to kind of get their goat. I've said, what if I tell you, because I shoot a recurve bow or a long bow, that you shoot a compound, so you're not an archer.
Right.
You're junk.
You have training wheels. It's what's called a compound bow. So.
And then I can turn that around and tell the guy that's using a recurve or a longbow, well, I killed my last deer with a spear, so because you shoot a bow, you're junk. And I can tell the spear hunter, I killed 6 deer with a rock.
With a rock, yeah, that's with a slingshot, baby. It goes on and on. Yeah, it does. But everybody is just, eating up with their own ideology of what would make. And part of it, we're men and it's ego, and I get all that. But my whole thing is we're going to tear divided we fall, like you said in the article. It's going to tear our sport down if we don't get serious about loving on each other and not hating on each other.
I give kudos to anyone, pat them on the back. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you've got a $10,000 rifle, $5,000 optic,
right,
shooting bullets that cost you $37 a piece,
right,
and you go out there and hunt and you kill something, that's not my thing.
It's
but
dead
okay.
Either way.
It's legal, and you did it.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with it, but I don't have to attack you. I may set you aside and talk to you and say, blah, 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 blah. But attacking someone is a different story.
Right.
I have a really nice Hoyt compound bow sitting in the house. If I hadn't lost most of the vision in my right eye this past year, I would be shooting that instead of a crossbow.
Right.
But because of losing that, I am totally useless left-handed. Mm-hmm. I have tried and tried and tried. But I would have to go and invest in a left-handed compound bow. Since I'm right-handed, I'd have to totally change up everything.
Yeah.
Instead, I got a moderately priced crossbow that was probably a third or less than a third of the price of a new compound.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I can shoot it even with my right eye that is damaged now because it has a 4-power optic on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can adjust that optic, the focus on that optic to where I can see.
Good. That's great.
So I was able to go bow hunting. I shot a hog. I didn't kill a deer this year. I passed up several young bucks crossbow hunting.
Yeah. But the point is that you're
But
still,
I ain't tearing nobody down.
no, you're not tearing people down, but also Bob Hood, who, the late Bob Hood, he passed away right before I took over some of his hotspot work at the magazine, but he wrote a lot of articles for the magazine and wrote a lot of columns, and one of his was called "Just Call Me a Hunter." Don't call me a bow hunter. Don't call me a gun hunter. Just call me a hunter. We've got to get along. We've got to unite about some of this stuff and not be tearing each other down because we think their deer was smaller than ours or they shouldn't have shot that or whatever. If it's a kid, if it's a new hunter, come on. A pat on the back goes a long way these days.
Look, as long as somebody's not poaching,
Exactly.
it's their tag.
Exactly. Yes.
It's
exactly.
their tag.
Mm-hmm.
It's their. They paid for the gun. They paid for the hunt. They paid for the stand. They paid for whatever.
Right.
As long as they're not breaking the law,
sure,
and they're not infringing on someone else, they're trespassing or doing anything illegal, then their hunt is their hunt.
Yep.
Now, I want to help guide people to hunt the right way. And by the right way, I don't necessarily mean with a bow or with a gun or with this or with that. I mean ethically.
Yeah. With the right morals, with the right common sense. Yeah.
The biggest ethical problem, good, clean kill. Let's practice with our equipment enough that when you put that pin or that crosshair on that animal and pull the trigger, you know where to put it to kill that animal quick, fast, and as painless as possible.
Yep.
Also, to where you can recover that animal so that you can enjoy the best part of hunting.
Yes.
The best part of hunting, which is what? Which is getting those back straps in some egg and buttermilk and flour, and then give it a bath in some 300-degree oil until it's golden brown, and then put some gravy and some mashed potatoes beside.
I need to do another cooking show.
The best part.
Yeah, that is the best part. Absolutely. I just had axis steak last night. An axis that I killed a couple of weeks ago on my buddy's ranch, and it's just that meat is lean, and that meat is good and tender and really, I mean, you just can't beat that compared to any other red meat. I mean, there are other ones that are good, but I mean, it's hard to beat whitetail. It's hard, especially axis, but I mean, it's hard to beat that meat that you harvested for your family. It's hard to beat the feeling of the field of the table.
Oh, exactly. Axis is some of the most delicious meat.
Oh, it is. But anyway, so we're at about an hour and a half, so I guess we better wrap this one up.
Wrap it up.
Thanks, man. Thank you. This was, I never know what we're going to talk about. I never know how these things are going to go, but we always make this entertaining and, thought-provoking, and I think this was definitely a good episode, probably one of our best.
We always have a good episode.
We do, man. You and I really, and I that's the thing I look forward to is having you on the show more often because it's just, you and I can go for so long and talk about so many different things, but you and I are kind of like kindred spirits in a lot of ways because we believe in a lot of the same philosophies, but also, what we do believe kind of melds together and makes something even cooler, in what we do in these podcasts together, which I think is really neat.
Exactly.
So your knowledge, my knowledge kind of welds together and kind of becomes like our knowledge, that we behold onto everybody else that's listening. So, that's the way it is. But thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Where can people find about you? Alpha Dog Blades. Give us all that info.
Oh gosh, man, you can get me a Alpha Dog Blades on Facebook.
Yep.
That's my knife making page.
Uh-huh.
Look me up at fishgame.com. You can just go search my name there and read all my articles and blogs and things that I do for Texas Fish and Game Magazine. And look me up on Amazon. You can go and look up Texas Jack's Wild Game and Venison Cookbooks.
Heck yeah.
And that's me.
But no, this is great, man. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much for joining us, Jeff.
Thanks for having me again.
And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jeff Stewart. Jeff Crypto Hook Stewart. You can find him on Facebook real easy. Real easy guy to approach. Real easy guy. I mean, kids and adults and stuff alike go ask him for autographs and stuff all the time because he's such a well-known guy in his community of Tanaha, where he lives. I believe I'm saying that right. And is well known for books and articles and videos and TV work and everything else that he does. Just a really, really great guy to have on the show. And I really hope that you connected well with the stuff that we have to talk about when it relates to the outdoors, because it is so important to me, guys, that we keep this going. We want to keep this magazine going. We want to keep the outdoor spirit of the wild alive. And I'm not trying to sound like Ted Nugent. I'm just saying the outdoor spirit of the wilderness, the spirit of the wild that calls inside of all of us. The primitive nature of our being. And so many times as I kind of close out the remarks of this show, so many times we're more human doings than human beings, and I certainly have been guilty of that. As many things that I do in the outdoors and media and live animal sales and building websites and stuff like that. I'm constantly on the go, and I'm more of a human doing sometimes than I am a human being. But just to exist with nature and just to sit out in nature and simply be in communion with it, be one with it, I think is so vitally important for whatever we do in the future of our hunting careers. It's not just about the killing, the catching, and the hunting and the fishing and the excitement in the outdoors, because nothing really gives you anything like the outdoors does. You can hunt and fish and take home food. You can't do that in just about any other sport. You can't really do that in a lot of other countries, especially France and China and places like that. You can't really just go kill something and drag it home and eat it. There's a lot of rules and stuff against owning guns and the tools to do those kind of things. So we have to not take that for granted. We have to be thankful and spread the good word and use the best practices when we talk to people that don't understand our sport, those people that may be anti-hunters, those people that may not get what we do in the outdoors. Just be a beacon of hope and inspiration to your inner circle, an impactful being of light to your darkness that may be around us. And we have a lot of factors that are against the hunting and fishing heritage, and just to know that this is positive. This is great for our youth. Kids that hunt and fish don't steal and deal. They have that big machine gun thing that they have in Kentucky, I believe it is, once a year, and they talk about all the kids going out there and shooting fully automatic weapons and stuff like that, and fast firing, rapid firing, different things. And the thing is, those kids don't really turn out to be mass murderers and things like that, because they get all that energy and all that excitement and all that fun of guns out in a safe environment. Kids that hunt and fish don't steal and deal is my point. And I've said that so many times on this show I lost count, but it's true that if you teach the kids the right way to come up and learn how to respect a deer once they kill it, how to respect a deer that they don't kill, how to feed well, how to grow food plots well, how to have things that are of value to nature and preserve this gift that we have for the generations that are yet unborn yet. I know that sounds kind of philosophical, but they're legacies that don't even exist yet that we are affecting by what we do today. You have a profound impact on everything that you do in your life, whether you know it or not. The things that you say to people, the actions that you create around people, all make kind of a ripple effect, kind of a puddle effect. They touch people. And are you being that hope of inspiration for our future, or are you being that source of negativity for our future? That's a question to ask yourself, because I run into a lot of guys, even some guys listen to the show, that are negative know-it-alls and that know everything, and they go nowhere in life. And I encourage you to be that beacon of light, to be that beacon of, not to sound too frilly or anything here, but be that light shining in the darkness in our world that is anti-gun, that is anti-hunting, that is anti-this, anti-that, all those things. Be the light in the darkness is what I want to leave you with today. And especially when it comes to the hunt shaming and the compound bow hunters being better than the crossbow hunters and the gun hunters being worse than the longbow hunters and all that. Let's just leave all that alone and just concentrate on loving on each other. Concentrate on blessing each other with our presence, not cursing each other. Concentrate on sharing public land, like my public land hunters, Jeremy Beeston and Trevor. Trevor and Jeremy, they both are just great guys. But they talk about that too, getting along in public land, and I just really think that the more that I look at doing the hunting and fishing thing, the more I want to encourage you to be a blessing and not a curse to those around you. And that sounds really trite to say, but there's so many people that I almost turned me off from hunting in my early days because they had such a negative attitude, because they didn't shoot the right deer, because the deer didn't come out, that they were waiting on, and they had this negative attitude, and they totally, nailed down this whole thing of well, I'm not going to do this if this isn't going to work out for me, and if this doesn't do it for me, then I'm just not going to do anything about it. And that's not the way to look at it, man. Share public land, backcountry hunters and anglers. I think they're going to run an ad with us here coming up in December, or close to it. Maybe the October. The January issue, but they're contacting me. I love that organization. I love them like I love DSC and SCI and HSC and all these other different safari clubs and conservation groups, because they're all about public land. I'm a public landowner. Is what they say in their Facebook skin. The little tags, skins that you can get for your Facebook profile picture. And that's the kind of stuff I love, because if we all get along, this is a whole lot better for everybody. And the impact that we have, the impact that you make on the people that you touch in your life is profound. Whether you like it or not, whether it's good or bad, it's profound. And that's what I wanted to say. I know I've kind of rambled on a little bit. Sorry about that. But that's my soapbox for today. Take care of each other. Love on each other. Don't get into this whole, rifle handgun shaming, thing of I shoot this and I on bow hunting and, I use this broadhead over this broadhead. Okay. Y'all all know the brands of stuff that I represent and stuff like that, but I don't beat you over the head with it and say if you hunt with anything else. There's one particular star that I watch on TV every once in a while. He was hunting with a particular brand of a bow, and he was pretty much saying to everybody that, hey, if you don't hunt with this bow, I'm sorry for you. I feel sorry for you if you're not hunting with this bow, because this bow is the best bow that ever was. That's the kind of stuff we need to avoid. That's the kind of stuff that kills me, because it's just one of those things that drives a stake in the ground between people, loving on each other. And that's what hunting and fishing is all about, is us taking care of each other and preserving this resource for the future. So anyway, there's my thought. Please, if you've not done so already, subscribe to our newsletter. It is free. Does not cost you anything. You get a new newsletter every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tactical Tuesday, Tactical and Practical Tuesday. You have Wildlife Wednesday, or Wilderness Wednesday now. Thursday, Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. And then you have special newsletters from us. And we've got Outdoor Edge coming out with knives and cutlery and all kinds of different tools and things that Outdoor Edge does. They're having an email blast coming out shortly after this podcast airs. They also have we have another, I'm trying to think what else. We have another podcast sponsor coming up in the future. I'll tell you more about that later. And then we also have email blasts that come out. Like I said, Outdoor Edge is going to be one of the ones coming up. Beaumont Products will be one of the ones coming up. All great companies to check out. So these are all things that we've approved at Texas Fishing Game. We run in our newsletter. The outdoors, the Action Sports Anchor. That's another one that's coming out in our magazine. New product that keeps you from dropping your cell phone out of the tree stand. New product that tethers the phone to you on the ski lift, okay? New product that tethers the phone for you as you don't drop it in the water in the boat, stuff like that. That's really innovative stuff that's coming along, guys. And that's what I'm excited about this. I'm kind of a gearhead anyway, but I just love this stuff so much. So, all right, thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.